first. I feel like it's Groundhog Day. Jeremiah now records a special message which he is instructed to bring to Judah. The Sabbath has been honored mostly in the breach for many years, and God wants it to be observed. Beyond being a requirement of the law, the Sabbath is symbolic of God's covenant with Israel, and its observance takes on added significance at a time when the covenant relationship has been so shattered. Keeping the Sabbath holy. This is what the Lord said to me. Go and stand at the gate of the people through which the kings of Judah go in and out. Stand also on all the other gates of Jerusalem. Say to them, hear the word of the Lord, your king of Judah, and all the kings of Judah, and everywhere the living in Jerusalem who come through these gates. This is what the Lord says. Be careful not to carry a load on the Sabbath day or bring it through the gates of Jerusalem. Do not bring a load out of your house or do any work on the Sabbath, but keep the Sabbath day holy, as I commanded to your ancestors. Yet they did not listen or pay attention. They were stiff-necked, and they would not listen or respond to discipline. But if you are careful to obey me, declares the Lord, and bring no load through the gates of the city on the Sabbath, but keep the Sabbath day holy by not doing any work on it, then kings who sit on David's throne will come through the gates of this city with their officials. They and their officials will come riding in on chariots and horses, accompanied by the men of Judah and those living in Jerusalem, and this city will be inhabited forever. People will come from the towns of Judah and the villages around Jerusalem, from the territory of Benjamin and the western foothills, from the hill country of Negev, and bring burnt offerings and sacrifices of grain offerings and incense, and bring thank offerings to the house of the Lord. Not obey me and keep the Sabbath, and keeping the Sabbath day holy, and not carrying any load as you come through the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then I will kindle an unquenchable fire in the gates of Jerusalem that will consume her fortresses. Another sign is now given to Jerusalem for the illustration of his preaching. Repeatedly, God has linked his relationship with man to a potter's relationship with his clay. As the potter has power over the clay, so God has, as the creator of the universe, has unlimited power over man and nations, and the right to rule them as he sees fit. To bring the message home clearly to Jerusalem, God directs him to the house of the potter. This is the word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord. Go down to the potter's house, and there I will give you my message. So I went down to the potter's house, and I saw him working at the wheel. But the pot he was shaping from the clay was marred in his hands, so the potter formed it into another pot, shaped it as seemed best to him. Then the word of the Lord came to me. He said, can I not do with you, Israel, as the potter does, declares the Lord? Like clay in the hand of the potter, so are you in my hand, Israel. If at any time I announce that a nation or kingdom is to be uprooted, torn down, or destroyed, and if that nation I warned represents of its evil, then I will relent and not inflict of it the disaster I have planned. If at a time I announce that a nation or a kingdom is to be built up and planted, and if it does evil in my sight and does not obey me, then I will reconsider the good I had intended for it. Now, therefore, says the people of Judah to those living in Jerusalem, this is what the Lord says. Look, I am preparing a disaster for you and devising a plan against you. So turn from your evil ways, each one of you, and reform your ways, your actions. But they will reply, it's no use. We will continue with our own plans. We will all follow the stubbornness of our evil hearts. Therefore, this is what the Lord says. Inquire among the nations, who has ever heard anything like this? A most horrible thing has been done by virgin Israel. Does the snow of Lebanon ever vanish from its rocky slopes? Do its cool waters from distant sources ever stop flowing? Yet my people have forgotten me. They burn incense to worthless idols, which made them stumble in their ways in the ancient paths. They've made them walk in byways on roads not built up. Their land will be an object of horror and of lasting scorn. All who pass by will be appalled, and all who shake their heads like the wind from the east. I will shatter them before their enemies, and I will show them my back and not my face on the day of their disaster. Once again, Jeremiah learns of a plot against him, but this plot seems to be more of a counter campaign than a threat to his physical life. Even so, Jeremiah is incensed and he cries out for the punishment of his detractors. The weeping prophet has now become the angry prophet. And I think that's you, Seth.
Yep. Conspiracy against Jeremiah. They said, "Come, let's make plans against Jeremiah, for the teaching of the law by the priest will not cease, nor will counsel from the wise, nor the word from the prophets. So come, let's attack him with our tongues and pay no attention to anything he says." Jeremiah's anger. Listen to me, Lord. Hear what my accusers are saying. Should good be repaid with evil? Yet they have dug a pit for me. Remember that I stood before you and spoke in their behalf to turn your wrath away from them. So give their children over to famine, hand them over to the power of the sword. Let their wives be made childless and widows, let their men be put to death, their young men slain by the sword in battle. Let a cry be heard from their houses when you suddenly bring invaders against them, for they have dug a pit to capture me and have hidden snares for my feet. But you, Lord, know all their plots to kill me. Do not forgive their crimes or blot out their sins from your sight. Let them be overthrown before you. Deal with them in the time of your anger. Angry and impatient as he may be, Jeremiah nevertheless continues to take God's message to the people. Once again, God graphically illustrates his message, this time using a clay jar. Message for Topheth. This is what the Lord says. Go and buy a clay jar from a potter. Take along some of the elders of the people and of the priests, and go out to the valley of Ben Hinnom, near the entrance of the potsherd gate. There proclaims the words I tell you, and say, Hear the word of the Lord, you kings of Judah and people of Jerusalem. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. Listen, I am going to bring a disaster on this place that will make the ears of everyone who hears of it tingle. For they have forsaken me and made this a place of foreign gods. They have burned incense in it to gods that neither they nor their ancestors nor the kings of Judah ever knew. And they have filled this place with the blood of the innocent. They have built the high places of Baal to burn their children in the fire as offerings to Baal. Something I did not command or mention, nor did it enter my mind. So beware, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when people will no longer call this place Topheth or the valley of Ben Hinnom, but the valley of slaughter. In this place I will ruin the plans of Judah and Jerusalem. I will make them fall by the sword before their enemies at the hands of those who want to kill them, and I will give their carcasses as food to the birds and the wild animals. I will devastate the city and make it an object of horror and scorn. All who pass by will be appalled and will scoff because of all of its wounds. I will make them eat the flesh of their sons and daughters, and they will eat one another's flesh because their enemies will press the siege so hard against them to destroy them. The meaning of the broken jar. Then break the jar while those who go with you are watching, and say to them, This is what the Lord Almighty says. I will smash this nation and this city just as this potter's jar is smashed and cannot be repaired. They will bury the dead in Topheth until there is no more room. This is what I will do to this place and to those who live here, declares the Lord. I will make this city like Topheth. The houses in Jerusalem and those of the kings of Judah will be defiled like this place, Topheth. All the houses where they burned incense on the roofs to all the starry hosts and poured out drink offerings to other gods. Jeremiah has been prophesying for some time now during the reign of Josiah, and although he has angered the religious establishment, no official action or physical harm has been brought against him. But his fortune on both counts is about to change, and when it does, Jeremiah will once again expose the inner pain that his outer suffering brings. And yet a new sense of trust in God is revealed. There is actually praise for the one who has gotten Jeremiah into all this trouble.
Jeremiah then returned from Topheth, where the Lord had sent him to prophesy, and stood in the court of the Lord's temple and said to all the people, This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. Listen, I am going to bring on this city and all the villages around it every disaster I pronounced against them, because they were stiff-necked and would not listen to my words. When the priest Pashur, son of Immer, the official in charge of the temple of the Lord, heard Jeremiah prophesying these things, he had Jeremiah the prophet beaten and put in the stocks at the upper gate of Benjamin at the Lord's temple. The next day, when Pashur released him from the stocks, Jeremiah said to him, the Lord's name for you is not Pashur, but terror on every side. For this is what the Lord says, I will make you a terror to yourself and to all your friends. With your own eyes, you will see them fall by the sword of their enemies. I will give all Judah into the hands of the king of Babylon, who will carry them away to Babylon or put them to the sword. I will deliver all the wealth of this city into the hands of their enemies, all its products and its valuables and all the treasures of the kings of Judah. They will take it away as plunder and carry it off to Babylon. And you, Pashur, and all who live in your house will go into exile to Babylon. There you will die and be buried, you and all your friends to whom you have prophesied lies. Cursed be the day I was born. May the day my mother bore me not be blessed. Cursed be the man who brought my father the news, who made him very glad, saying, a child is born to you, a son. Jeez. May that man be like the towns the Lord overthrew without pity. May he hear wailing in the morning, a battle cry at noon. For he did not kill me in the womb, with my mother as my grave, her womb enlarged forever. Why did I ever come out of the womb, to see trouble and sorrow, and to end my days in shame? You deceived me, Lord, and I was deceived. You overpowered me and prevailed. I am ridiculed all day long. Everyone mocks me. Whenever I speak, I cry out, proclaiming violence and destruction. So the word of the Lord has brought me insult and reproach all day long. But if I say I will not mention his word or speak any more in his name, his word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. I hear many whispering, terror on every side. Denounce him, let's denounce him. All my friends are waiting for me to slip, saying, perhaps he will be deceived. Then we will prevail over him and take our revenge on him. But the Lord is with me like a mighty warrior, so my prosecutors will stumble and not prevail. They will fail and be thoroughly disgraced. Their dishonor will never be forgotten. Lord Almighty, you who examine the righteous and probe the heart and mind, let me see your vengeance on them. For to you I have committed my cause. Sing to the Lord, give praise to the Lord. He rescues the life of the needy from the hands of the wicked.
Best closing refrain, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, after all of what he just got done saying, then he comes right back to, wait a second, and I'm going to worship. Don't you just think this should be like the passage that's posted on seminary walls throughout the country? I mean, you guys think when I go into ministry, let's just keep in mind, you're going to go serve people that at the end of the day may very well despise you. And what a wake up call for Jeremiah, huh? What did you guys think about this? Did anything jump out at you as you were reading? It looks like you had an epiphany there, Josh, a couple moments.
Yeah, I just was blown away with how gnarly it is. It's like, curse the man who told people I was born. Like, that poor guy. Like, he's just a doctor.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's just so harsh. But what keeps kind of like sticking out to me as we read through prophets, especially today, is how it's almost like what the prophets say in the Bible is a verbal expression of things that we feel in life, but we don't know how to express.
Yeah.
And almost to the point, sometimes it's so like intricate and like even, I don't want to say exaggerated because I think it's real, but
Guttural
like,
and visceral.
yeah, just like, what is the best way to explain this horrible feeling of what I want to happen to these people? Or how can I explain this horrible feeling of how I feel like God has abandoned me? And then it turns around. How can I explain how amazed I am at how God is going to deliver justice? And it's just these amazing like translations of deep feelings. And I think the Bible and the prophets can be used in that way to express those, how God is and how we are.
There's also the element of, and I don't know what Jeremiah was what he was thinking exactly, but it's like, I can imagine, it's like, God, don't do and bring destruction on these people. I mean, I know they've been bad, but I really want, wait a minute, they're out to get me? Okay, God, you're right. Never mind.
Right.
It's like, I'm done. What you were saying, I'm in agreement.
I was trying to
Let's go
help
do
you.
that stuff.
Yeah. I was trying to help you guys, but never mind.
That's totally what it feels like to me as I'm reading this. It's like, all right, God, I see this through your eyes in a different way now that I realize they're out to get me.
Right.
And
Totally.
I think there's maybe an element there that,
Yep.
But Seth, what did you observe? Anything in the text that you want to underscore or highlight?
Probably not important too much because I'm still processing it. I was just trying to find some other references, but I just liked there was a reference, I'm trying to find what page it was, where it said, "You won't see my face," or God said, "You won't see my face again." There it is. It's on page 4. It's the last sentence before the commentary. "I will show them my back and not my face in the day of their disaster." And it just reminded me about how the whole story started, that when God revealed himself to Moses up at the top, it was still at this point just his back when he gave him the law. Because it was a study that I was processing about not seeing God's face, just his back. We didn't know him. It was just law, and then eventually being revealed through Jesus.
Yeah. Why do the people?
I just like those tiebacks.
Why do you think the people thought that Jeremiah was expendable?
I was kind of wrestling with that question. I know the people probably didn't want to hear a lot of what he had to say and wanted to ignore it or deny it, be in denial.
Yeah.
So maybe they wanted him to be expendable, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the right answer for that. But Jenny said he did not say what people wanted to hear. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And when the people want what they want, there seems to be a sense of entitlement to having the message the way you want the message. Isn't that the truth? And it's funny because, we're in a culture right now that is not less like that. I mean, we want the Burger King version of the gospel. We want the gospel delivered our way, and we want it at the hour we want it, in the delivery method we want it, with the particular pastor we want it. And if we don't have it our way, we're not happy, and we want to make everyone aware that we're not happy, to the point where we will stone the prophet, or we will, hopefully not stone me, but I mean, churches are experiencing incredible pressure. Pastors are dropping out like police officers. I would not want to be a cop right now, but there's a sense that we're going to come back at some juncture to something that looks more normal than now. But the world is going to be a place in the weeks and months to come. That's my guess.
Well, and we want the gospel to fit our agenda and what's happening in our lives currently.
Yeah.
And that's an easy trap to fall into, just making it fit what's going on around you. And could be out of, I know for me, it's easier to make it fit my situation than to step out of my comfort zone when God's calling me to do something that's kind of uncomfortable and doesn't fit my situation. And that in itself is a reminder that if I'm uncomfortable and I know God's telling me to do something, I'm in the right place probably.
Right.
I don't need to be comfortable all the time.
Yeah. Well, hey, and just for fun, McFaith, I like that, Glenn. That's exactly right. Did I just switch to our sermon series plan?
Yes.
So just as a fun thing for you guys to see, that's not what I want. That's just to give you a sense of where we're at. So we're finishing fake news on August 16th, and then on August 22nd through September 6th, we're going to be starting a brand new series. This will correspond with our coming back with worship, and we're calling it Come Alive, but it's going to be a study in Ezekiel. The whole church gets to be in Ezekiel. That's where we're going to be for those 3 weeks in our morning daily study Bible. And then following that, we'll be in a short 2-week series in Job as we are with our study Bible. So we're gonna be in our study Bible for 5 weeks every day, and then teaching about that on the weekend. Then we'll jump to that message series I mentioned, Anxious About Nothing, followed by a series in October, November. I am Jesus, and doing the I am statements of Jesus. This is what we do will be how it is that we become the church in this new kind of wherever we're at in the stage of things. But right now we're really looking forward to what this next year is going to look like for the church, and planning and dreaming about how God's going to speak into it. So at any rate, in the midst of that, what I expect is that people won't be happy. Because some of those statements, particularly the I am statements of Jesus, I think are going to be like hard for people to hear. And nevertheless, so even after God pronounced judgment, what might make him relent or reconsider?
Yeah. Let's see what Chris said. Why would God ever reconsider a decision and change his mind? Doesn't he know all? Doesn't he know if and or when his people will turn and repent? That's a deep question.
Super good question. And it really depends on kind of there's several theological frames with which people put on that. I'll give you the quick gist. There's some that would say that God chooses only to know what is knowable. And so he's choosing to see inside of time. Others would say, no. His sovereignty helps him see the timeline outside of time. And so his declarations of choosing are inspiration, not fact. They're meant to cause us to engage him. And he sees when we engage him because he sees outside of time. And so he already knows ahead of time those places where he makes declarations, we are moved and we act. And in our moving and acting and calling on his name, he already knows that he'll change his mind, but we hear it in time. And so we're part of the seeing it in time, not that he's not seeing it outside of time. That's where I would tend to lean. And so it isn't that he doesn't know, but he only reveals what is knowable in the moment to us. So our action will direct his reaction to our action, but he already knows what's going to happen. It would be how I see it, but others see it a little different.
Well, that's such a good question, because if you're a Christian and you're honest, you've thought about that a lot. And I've thought about it throughout my life and struggled and wrestled with it and come to the determination that God knows so much more than I do that I might not understand how that works, but I do know that he's given me a path, and he gives me the way to go, and he lets me deal with life and temptation and make a choice. And when I make that choice, it's always genuine and real. And when I choose to repent, if it wasn't completely genuine and all by my choice, it wouldn't mean what it means. And that's why I worship him. Because I don't know if that translates very well, but God knows so much more than I do. There's some things I don't really need to know, I don't know how that works. I think I will one day, but I know that it's good. I know that I need God, and I know that He's real, and He's showing me the way.
Hey, Seth, interact with question number 3. You kind of alluded that you've been thinking about that a little bit. What comes to mind when you think of the image of God turning his back instead of showing his face?
Oh, that was interesting. I didn't even see that was one of our questions. Yeah, I think that's all. To me, I think it's that we don't know him. You know, when I was looking at that, it was this concept of that when God revealed himself, well, when he walked by Moses and Moses only saw his back, he didn't know him. So he didn't know him. He saw his back. And then when God made himself known to Moses, it was by giving the law. And I talked about this on one of our earlier things that my theory was that by giving us the law, he had now revealed half of himself to us. And then he would fully reveal himself then through the Spirit and the Word and then Jesus and be fully known. And it says that in John, that God is made known to us through Jesus and that we see God through Jesus. And then that we now know, when we know Jesus, that we have the Holy Spirit, and that people who don't know Jesus, obviously they see us and they see Jesus in us. So that's all I thought about it, was a reference to that process of coming to know him, and he's turned his back. He doesn't know those people. It's almost like where he says to those Pharisees and the people, I don't know you. You know, the people who are doing things and thinking their works made a difference. And he says, I don't know you, Jesus says. That's what I think it is. He's turned his back on these people. He doesn't know who they are, what they're doing. Good stuff in the chat, though.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump away, but wanted to mention real quick. I'm thankful Steve mentioned that he sees fatherhood in God, and that is something that Chris has helped me so much with that question that I've struggled with, because when we think of God the Father and we relate to him as fathers, it's like, oh, you know, you can almost relate fully to that. I know my kid's going to make this mistake, and he's going to deal with the consequence, and I'm going to be there to help him when he does and to teach him through it. You know, it's God the Father.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember, you know, there was a season in my son's life when he was a teenager when he was experiencing a fair degree of hard-heartedness and rebellion. And there was one moment where he was going, I don't recall where he was heading anymore, and he was super disrespectful to my wife, which she said, no, you can't go. He said, you know, I'm going, and here's where you can go if you think I'm not going. And she called me and let me know that had happened, and my protective instincts flared up, and my anger burned with a partial righteous indignation and maybe something else I don't recall, but I gave him an ultimatum to either turn around and come back, or when he got back, find his stuff in the garage. And he told me, go ahead and put my stuff in the garage, which I came home and told Elizabeth we were moving the lad out, and we made trips up and down the stairs to put his stuff out in the garage, and cried the whole time. And you know, and it was this anger that brought consequence with tears and mourning. And I think sometimes that single experience has helped me kind of get a sense of maybe how God feels sometimes towards us and towards his people, that his word is going to be followed through, and he has made a declaration. He has got a righteous anger and is burning in that anger, and yet is brokenhearted over the choices that we're making, because he does not desire for us to experience the consequences. And yet those consequences are going to be brought to bear on our lives. And the greatest thing that he desires is for us to turn and repent. And there's an open-armed desire for him to re-embrace us if we would just come to him and say, I am sorry. And please forgive me. You know, if we fall on our face and cry out to him, he is faithful and just to forgive us of sin. And yet our hard-heartedness, stubbornness sometimes causes us to refuse to accept that with which would allow us to be at home. And it's a horrible and fearful thing to fall into the hands of a righteous God without being covered by the forgiving blood of Jesus. And so grateful to Jesus for forgiving our sins. So, well, Father God, I just thank you so much that you love us. And I ask that you would continue to draw our hearts near you, that we would really find ourselves deeply, deeply desiring to see our own sin, to choose to give our hearts more fully to you today than we did even yesterday, and that you would continue to allow your word to form and shape us to the women and to the men that you desire us to be, not the women and the men that we are. Refine us like the potter, shape us, and God, continue to use us in the midst of our brokenness. And like a broken vessel, God, shine through us and let your glory be manifest here in our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen and amen. You guys have a great day. Can't wait to be preaching tonight in Baxter. Plenty of open seats. Come join us if you can. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Yeah. Have a good day, guys. Love ya.
Well.
Bye. Blessings.